All right, we will call this episode 15 of the Athletic Philosopher podcast. I am your host, Jordan Goldstein, former sport history, sport philosophy, sport sociology professor, current fitness coach, life coach, endurance training coach, a little bit of everything. And I've got a real treat in store for everybody today. I am going to be zooming back into my historian role and describing a really impactful story and providing context, meaning, and interpretation around it. So, last episode was a bit of an experiment in live philosophizing. This is going to be putting on a different academic hat, my historian hat, and talking to you today about the most meaningful run that I've ever been on. Now, when we think about the word meaning, people will automatically think to the big dramatic, the big daring, the big adventures. Something like running 100 miles or a backyard ultra or a fasted trail marathon or any of these big, bold things that I've done when it comes to running. But it's not that at all. It's actually just a very simple 4-mile run that I take in my little rural village. I walk down the main street from my house and I turn onto a side road that takes you past the fire station, a beautiful pond, a big, beautiful public library, and then out onto a paved road for about maybe a mile and a half to a nice intersection where then you run into a dirt road and you turn around and you come back, and it's just about 4 miles. Now, you will know from some of the episodes previously, and certainly if you've been following me on social media for a while, that I'm not a big fan of road running. And in fact, pardon me, I actually despise road running a little bit because I found myself running on the trails, right? Like when I was searching for ways to get back into physical activity and exercise consistently, I tried a whole bunch of different things. You know, body weight exercises, going and doing machines, cardio in the gym, a whole bunch of different things. But I'd always shied away from running, even though it was something that I was good at and had a lot of experience in growing up as an elite level soccer player. And I remember getting a pair of running shoes and thinking, all right, let's give this a try. I went and I ran on some local paths. And then a friend told me to go out and try running in a forest. And I was immediately hooked. Now, something like that could be considered the most meaningful run of my life. That very first trail run where I could barely make it 2 kilometers into the woods before I had to get down and huff and puff because it was such a dynamic and demanding style of running, something I'd never experienced before, but became instantly addicted to. You might think something like that could be the most meaningful run because it set this entire trajectory for my life where now I effectively coach people utilizing the experiences and the knowledge and the lessons that I gain from pushing myself out on the trails. But that's still not the most meaningful run. So let me paint you the picture on this 4-mile stretch, and then I will do my best historian, not impression because I am one. I will do my best to provide beautiful context and bring the story to life with drama and with all those things that we love about a story or a narrative to really show you why a 4-mile run can be something that is, life-changing in a sense. So this run occurred, I think, about a week or 10 days after I came back home from the 2024 Prayer on Fire Backyard Ultra. I've got 2 podcast episodes about that race, sort of what I did coaching, but also my own race experience. So go check out those 2 previous episodes if you want to get a sense of what that race was all about. But I was starting to come back online with my body, feeling good, and I decided it's a good day to go out and, I won't say push pace or go fast, but to not worry about whatever pace I naturally started to run at. And if I started to push up into some higher zones and some higher running paces, some faster paces, that would be just fine. To give you a bit of context on my pacing, trail runners don't even bother with this stuff, but when you're on the road, like, you actually have some means of standard comparison. So on a very flat road, I run comfortably at an 8-minute mile pace or just below. So for my Canadian listeners, that's like a 5-minute per kilometer pace, or a little below. For me, that's effectively like a zone 2 run, or a very low intensity run where I'm not really taxing myself. We often describe zone 2 as you can hold a conversation comfortably while in that heart rate zone. And I've done some 4-mile test runs, and a test run is where you go as fast as you possibly can. So if it's just me running comfortably, 4 miles takes me about 31 minutes or so. My test, when I went as fast as I possibly could for the entire 4 miles, came in just under 24 minutes, right? So just under 6 minutes, 6-minute mile average pace. So really fast. And the Backyard Ultra format is effectively how many times can you run a 4-mile loop, four and change. And so this 4-mile distance has almost been like ingrained in my body, because I've trained for 2 Backyard Ultras in 2023 and 2024. And part of my strategy is just to internalize what 4 miles means to my body at a whole bunch of different paces, with different cadences, in different terrains, trail, road, so that I just understand what it means to travel 4 miles with my body, and in a particular time. The Backyard Ultra, you got to do it on the hour, every hour. And a lot of my training runs on this 4-mile stretch in my village, somewhere between 28 and 32 minutes consistently, depending on if I want to go a little faster or a little bit slower. So this run, I start out and I feel really good. It's like I don't even look at the pacing of the first mile. I just hit start, and then I run, and then I'm off. And then when the mile hits, I look down and I see the time, and I judge based off how I'm feeling what I want to do. And I think for this one, I came in somewhere around 7 minutes and 40 seconds for the first mile, and I felt really good, which to me is a signal to maybe do a little bit of a progressive run. So each mile get faster, with the last mile being the fastest. But I'm still recovering from running 87.5 miles a week or 10 days before this. And so I'm sort of just noticing, and I'm aware of all these things. So I go out, I hit the 2 miles turnaround point. I come back, and there's this beautiful intersection right before you get back to the main road in my village, where it's like this massive farm on sort of 2 corners. You got forest on one corner, and you got a beautiful house with like a pond. It's like right out of a movie or a novel. This beautiful country road. It's a really, really special place to be able to run, especially right from my house. But I see, right, coming up at the intersection, I see a kid on his bike. Kid's probably like 10, 11 years old. And I'm thinking, oh, this is great. Like, I'm running, kids biking home after school in the country. Like, what a beautiful scene. And then, turns out I know the boy. He's actually one of our neighbors. He lives kind of like across diagonally the street from us. And he looks at me as I'm running, and I'm running like a solid clip now. I'm closer down to 7 minutes or sub 7 minutes when it comes to my pace. Actually, I think I'm probably in the 650s or the 640s. Like, I'm going pretty hard. And he looks at me and he says, "Oh my gosh, you're running fast." Because he's biking. He's biking next to me now. So I'm running down this country road, and I got this 10-year-old boy biking next to me with his backpack. And we start having this conversation about running. And he knows me. He recognizes me. I'm a hard to miss guy in the village. I got the big hair. I got the big beard. I got these bright green shoes. Like, I'm a one of a kind. You can't miss me. So he sees me and he says, "Oh my gosh, you're running really fast." He's like, "How do you do that?" And I said, "You have to practice running a lot." Right? I practice running far. I practice going fast. And I say, "Hey, you see me out in front of my house doing all that jump rope too?" He says, "Yeah." Like, that's, I train for this, right? I'm a coach. I help other people run. I help them get faster. I help them get fit. And I run in my own competitions as well. And this is a kid. Maybe I'll get to this part in just a second. Pause. We'll hit that one. He turns to me and he starts getting really excited because he wants to talk to me about now his own running, right? He says, "When we do the track and field, I'm always the fastest and I can always run farther than other people." Is that true or is it not? I don't know. You know how kids are sometimes. But he seems really genuine. Like, he seems really adamant and proud of himself that, he's got these results that are related to running. And I tell him, "That's great. Like, you get a lot of, you get a lot of confidence in yourself from running." And he says, "Yes, sir." And then something happens. He starts talking to me about, it's really fun to win these races, but when I feel the best is when I help one of my friends get better. And he was talking, I think, about skating, like ice skating, but we got to this point in this conversation within a few hundred meters of me running and him biking beside me as I'm making my way back into the village, that he feels more accomplished and proud about himself when he is helping other people, teaching them, coaching them in sports. He seems to have a way. He seems to have a knowledge here. And I turned to him and I asked, like, "How does that make you feel in your heart when you help somebody else?" And he says, "It makes me feel amazing. It fills it up with all the good feelings." And I turned to him and I said, "Little man, this is the feeling that will help you win at life, no matter what. You just find ways to tap into that and pour it out into the world, and you're going to be a winner." And that's a really powerful moment, right? That's a very powerful moment to be able to be in motion, doing the thing you love to do, talking to a kid about the power of helping other people do that thing, which is the thing that you do. Like, it's a very meaningful moment, but that's not even why this is the most meaningful run of my life. You can start to see the building blocks here, but my goodness, I'm about to zap us back into time and we're about to go on a ride. So it's legitimately at this moment where I'm pointing to my heart and I'm talking to this kid and we're sharing this really deep moment that all of a sudden it hits me. I flash back to one of my earliest memories as a parent, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm shocked that I didn't fall to the ground and collapse under the weight of this moment that I shared with this young boy. So let's go back in time. It's March 2018, 6 years ago. 3 days after my first child has been born, my daughter. I'm a university professor. I'm getting ready to go to my first lecture after my daughter was born. She was born on a Sunday. She was premature, so we had to keep her at the hospital for the Monday. I was lecturing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I had to cancel my Monday lecture, and I was about to head off to my Wednesday lecture. Now, my mom, grandma, was here with my wife and my newborn daughter. I'm an early riser. I like to get to campus nice and early. I have 8:30 a.m. lectures, so I have to be there early, but I don't want to walk in from my car right into lecture hall. I like to get to my office maybe even before 7 o'clock so that I can prepare my lecture for the day. I can ease into it. And so I'm up pretty early because I probably leaving my house around 6 o'clock to commute to campus about an hour away. And it's winter. It's the end of winter in rural Ontario. It's cold. There's snow. There's ice everywhere. I've got my suit, my tie, my dress shoes. Sorry, my dress boots. My dress shoes are in the car. I don't drive in the dress shoes. And I'm walking outside as a dad of 3 days, ready to go back to work in a sense. My wife's got maternity leave, and I'm home 4 out of the 7 days. I don't really need to take paternity leave in that sense. And I'm trying to gain a tenure job, so it's not a great idea for me to just skip out in the final few weeks of the semester right before the kids are going to exams and say, we just had our first kid, and I'm going to be gone. I felt like I could make it all work. And it's cold outside. It's pretty cold. And I go outside, I start taking my things to my car, like my bag, my coffee, and I hear something. It's screaming. It's a little child screaming at the top of their lungs. It's not the type of thing you can ignore. Now, we're also relatively new to the neighborhood. We had only been living there for about a year and change. And it's a small rural village. We live on a kind of like a little street that nobody knows about. And all the neighbors know each other, and it's really great, but we're still, getting to know everybody. And I hear this scream, and I'm drawn towards it. So I start walking down the street towards this scream, and I see a boy outside in the snow. He has no pants, no shoes, no socks. He's wearing a thin, long sleeve t-shirt, and it's got to be -10, -15 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. Single digits in the Fahrenheit. This child's house also backs onto that pond. Remember how I said that beautiful road passes a pond and then goes to the library? Well, our street's on the other side of this pond. This is a nightmare situation, right? Kids wander off in the middle of the night, right? The sleepwalker, disoriented. It just happens, right? But there's enough horror stories about kids getting trapped outside, freezing to death, falling in the water. Like this is real nightmare terror stuff. So I see the kid. I run. I grab him. I got a big kind of like wool coat, and I wrap him in the big wool coat. And he's shivering, and he's screaming, right? Because it's pitch dark and it's frozen, and I don't know how long he's been out there. 1 minute's too long. And I put him in the coat, and I take him. There's a little bit of a vestibule in front of the house. I don't even know if this kid lives in this house. Like, he's just wandering. I'm just glad he's not in the pond, and I'm glad his lips aren't blue yet, and that his fingers and toes aren't falling off. So I get in the vestibule. I'm assuming that the front door is locked, ringing the doorbell, banging on the door. Help, help, help. Open up, open up, open up. Nothing. 5 minutes goes by. Nothing. Now I'm starting to get really worried. I'm starting to paint a picture in my mind of what might be happening at this house. That I've got a half-naked child standing outside in the freezing cold, and I can't get a response from anybody on the inside. It's not a good situation. I look down at my watch, and I gotta go. Like, I gotta start thinking about commuting to my job. And I'm just flustered. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can't obviously leave this kid here, but I don't even know if this is his house. So, in a moment, I say, stay inside this vestibule. Do not move. I will be right back. I sprint back to my house. I wipe out hard. I smoke my hip. I kind of ruin my suit pants because I'm just trying to figure out how to make a solution to this incredible problem that's presented itself to me. I go inside. My wife, my mom, and my little girl are waiting for me because they sort of heard a little bit of the commotion and they're up. I take a look at my daughter and I just like collapse into tears. I'm a brand new dad and now I'm having to witness and deal with this horrendous situation, which could potentially be like child neglect, child abandonment. Like, who knows what's potentially going on inside this house. And, it's a really emotional scene. And I can't stay long because I got to go back to this kid. So I asked, what should we do? And they tell me, we're going to call the police. We're going to be here. You need to go to your lecture. You can't do anything other than what you've already done. And I didn't think that was the right move. I thought, how could I possibly leave this kid? How could I possibly go and lecture? But they were right. There wasn't much else I could do. And I said, I'm not leaving until I know that kid is inside of the house. So I go back. They've called the police at this point. I go back into the vestibule. The kid is still there. I try again for about 5 minutes, like pounding on the door. The ding, 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 forever. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, I touch the door handle, and I recognize that the front door is open. The front door is not closed. The front door's not locked. I'm still a city slicker. I assume everybody locks all their doors. And then it's like, I look to the kid and I say, is this your house? He says, yes, this is my house. I'm like, are you sure this is your house? I've never even seen the kid before. Is this your house? Yes. Get in, go to bed, get warm. Runs upstairs. I go back, I get in the car, I drive. I don't want to go into the details of what happened or why that happened. I don't think it's necessary. Suffice to say, that kid is not coming from a home at that moment that is doing a very good job to support his development. Something like that, right? Flash forward back to my 4-mile run. Who do you think that kid is that I'm talking to on the bike? It's that kid. It's the one who I picked up out of the snow, who was freezing. It's that kid who, if I didn't listen to that scream and react, God knows what could have happened to that little boy. He might not be here right now. It's a story I haven't told a lot of people. It's a story that confirms a lot of the better parts of my character that I want to be able to display in difficult times. But I also don't want to use it as this opportunity to brag, write copy, get a sale, or anything like that. I have too much respect for the individuals in the other parts of the story, especially that little boy. But I think now is the time to tell that story because of this full circle moment of me seeing him on the bike, running these past, 90 seconds with him, having this heart-to-heart talk about coaching, about adversity, about how sports allows us to punch through and to know about ourselves, and how when it gets difficult, we shouldn't quit on ourselves. So I'm talking to him about all of these lessons. He is confirming to me with his heart that he feels it resonating and that he wants to do more to help other people feel the same way he does in terms of being accomplished through sport. And you can imagine for a kid who grows up in a situation that is less than stable. Sports can be a tremendous sanctuary. It can be a tremendous respite. It can be a tremendous place of positive escapism from potentially some of the more difficult things, right, that people who live in these situations have to deal with. And when I realized that in the moment that I was talking to this grown up, mature, pretty wise kid, all things considered. And from the outside, most people might think he's like a bad kid, right? In that sense. And to have him displaying to me this type of reverberation through the heart that was like aimed directly back into my heart, it was just too much. And I did shed a few tears, but I kept running, and I decided I want to show this guy what it means to really run fast. Like, I want to show him that this type of thing matters to who you are. And there's a little bit of an uphill coming back up into my village on the main street, and I had already passed like when I was gonna finish, and I decided to race him up the hill. This is a kid, he's on a bike. He's 10 years old. And I was about to show him, when you believe in yourself, when you dedicate struggle and you sacrifice the right things to becoming the best version of yourself, you can fly. You can literally fly. And I blasted this kid up the hill. I'm not even going to lie. I said, let's race. Like, you're fast. Let's see it. And I just burned all the gas I had. And, when I got up to the point that we had decided was going to be the end of the race, and we're walking back, right? My house is just across the street from his house. I'm huffing, I'm puffing, I'm all red. It's late summer. It's a beautiful day. It's nice and warm. And he looks at me and says, that was awesome. I can't believe you were just able to run that fast after already doing all that running. And I turned to him and said, that's just the beginning, man. And if you ever want to learn about running or sports or anything, you just come knock on my door and I'm happy to take you out. Wild stuff. Now, what made this particularly meaningful, even above everything that I've just laid out, was the fact that a week before, at the Backyard Ultra, I had my own beautiful confirmation of becoming, right? I've been on this journey away from my academic career as a professor, moving into the world of online entrepreneurship, having a few false starts along the way, finally recognizing that this sort of fitness and life coaching blend that I've created is the right aim for me and the thing that I need to be doing and should be doing to help people, but also to spread the knowledge that I have and the power of these activities to orient our lives towards their best potential. Pardon me. And I just had this amazing confirmation that this is the truth, right? I took 4 of my one-on-one coaching clients to this Backyard Ultra race. All 4 of them hit distance records. All 4 of them had massive transcendent breakthroughs about themselves, right, that are still echoing and reverberating now, like months after this race. And so I was feeling the power of being a coach. I was feeling the power of being an appropriate guide and mentor for people on these heroic journeys of self-discovery and self-transcendence. And then I get to use that rightful and just authority, right, as a coach, as somebody who knows how to improve somebody's life physically, mentally, and spiritually through like a dedication to running, for example. Now I get to share that with the next generation. Now I get to put that down through the generations by teaching kids this valuable lesson about the utility of sports. And I got to do that in real time while running, while sprinting, while showing off what I can physically do as a way to open up my heart and pour out the truth. And then I get to do this to a little boy who I saved 5 years ago, 6 years ago, who some might look at and say that's a bad seed. He comes from a bad tree. And to have him pour out that wisdom and to have it flow so naturally between our two hearts. Yeah, that's the most meaningful run of my life. I don't know if anything will ever top that. I'm open to the possibilities. I'm curious to see if there is something else out there that can match the depth and the power of the story that I've just told you. But I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it. You talk about believing in yourself. You talk about self-confidence. You're talking about assuredness of identity. You're talking about strength and resolve of character. You're talking about values and principles, determination. I got to feel all those things so intensely in one moment because of this incredible spiraling out, this context, this narrative interpretation of what I thought was just going to be maybe a fast run out through the country roads. The takeaway for everybody here, I'm going to try to keep it together. I'm pretty emotional right now. The takeaway here is always have your heart open to possibilities. Have your heart open so that you can notice the moments where you can rise to become a hero. Have your heart open to the possibility that a mundane experience, something that's ordinary, can all of a sudden become extraordinary, can become sacred. And that derives from our intention and our ability to act on that intention decisively, in the moment, with conviction. And if you keep that heart open to these possibilities, the deepest world of meaning opens up in front of you like a chasm, like the world splitting open. And given that we live in a society and in a culture where people search, strive for, and demand meaning in a vacuous and superficial world, the key ingredient is keeping that heart open so that the true you can rise in the occasion and that you can notice all of those times coming together in one beautiful moment of meaning. Thank you for letting me share this story. And again, it's something that's always on my heart, but it's something I don't share with a lot of people. And so I'm very happy that you've all taken a listen to this one. See you guys in the next episode. Got a couple of really interesting interviews coming up in the next few weeks. And thanks so much for your support, everybody. I'm going to go try to keep it together. It's a really powerful story. All right. Peace and love.